Hey everyone, we're gonna play around with some glow-in-the-dark pigments today. I'm starting off with an experiment. Mad Micas recently dropped their new Sapphire Glow, and I thought that would give me a good opportunity to play around. I love greens and blues anyway, and those are the colors that tend to that glow in the dark pigments seem to come in, that the ones that work. I bought one once off of, I think it was Etsy, that was supposed to glow purple. It didn't really glow purple. I mean, it didn't glow much at all. It was really hard to see. Anyway, so I was anxious to try this out, but my biggest goal of the experiment was to see if I could add color to the pigment, or to the soap that the pigment's in, without blocking the light. Because if you read the instructions on the website, and I kind of knew this before from experimenting, if you add mica, it's going to block the light and you're not going to get a good glow. So, or at least if you add a regular amount of mica, let me put it that way, because we'll be experimenting with that one coming in another video down the road, maybe after the holidays. But so I wanted to try one of the more transparent colorants in with the glow mica and see if it would still glow, because the color of glow in the dark pigments isn't that appealing to me. It's kind of neutral, but it's just like, I don't know. I wanted something with a little color, so we're playing around today. And I chose the Zenicolor to start with because I've been kind of working with those recently. And they really don't seem to block light as far as the transparency of a soap goes. So I wanted to see if that would carry over into not blocking the light from the light that needs to get to the pigments, the UV kind of light or sunlight, whatever you charge your pigments with. And so I'm playing around with what I wanted to do with this batch is see if I could also match the color that it glows, so that it's similar when it's glowing and when it's not. The colorants would be the same. So for the new one, the Sapphire Glow, I added just plain blue. I may have added a tinge of purple in there, because that blue on its own is a little toward the aqua side. I may have neutralized it a little bit with that. And then the second one, I just used, I think I just used their green, because their green kind of lies on the aqua side as well, on the bluish type of green as well. I might have added a little more blue to that, because the Glow Blue pigment is kind of an aqua blue. It's gorgeous. So I was trying to match that. And then for the green, I used the Zenicolor green, and I don't know the names of the Zenicolor, so please forgive me. I'm sure I'm not calling them the right names. I'm just going with your basic primary colors. And then I added quite a bit of yellow, because the Glow Green, if you have not seen it, it's quite a yellowish green. It's kind of the color most things glow in the dark. When you buy something glow in the dark, that's the color you expect. I will say you're going to hear me say this way too much and get tired of hearing it, but it's so hard to photograph and film these. It just is, because the camera just doesn't want to pick it up the way it actually is and the way you see it. The Sapphire Blue is more blue than you're seeing it. It just doesn't pick it up as well on camera. It's you barely see a difference between kind of the aqua or the Glow Blue and the Sapphire Blue. There, you see it a little bit better there. But it's real apparent when it's glowing in real life right there in your face. So, and here you see me playing around with trying to block out some of the light. I played a game the whole video with not enough light, too much light, trying to figure out the right balance to show you what I was actually seeing. They glow way, so intense. They're really, really, now I did use, I'll preface it with this. I used the maximum amount. You do want to, if you buy these and use them, you do want to read up on the instructions on Mad Micas website. By the way, I am an affiliate. I'm not paid to do these, but if you follow my affiliate link that will be in the description and you purchase something, anything, doesn't have to be the glow in the dark or whatever I'm linking for you. If you follow my affiliate link, you will, if you purchase something through there, I will receive a small percentage, and without any cost to you, without any extra cost to you. It would just be the regular price that you pay for it, or if it's on sale, it's not going to take away your sale price. I will get a small little nice, little, here you go, little benefit. I don't know, my words are not there today. Oh, guys, this one's going to be a mess, probably. But I'm going to try my best. It's all I can do on days like this. So, yeah, here, as you saw in the experiment, I think you could see on those little hexagon shapes I did for my samples that it worked. I thought it worked pretty well. You could see they looked very similar when they were glowing. The ones that did not have pigment or didn't have colorant in it. They looked very similar to the ones that had colorant while they were glowing. I thought they looked very similar, which was my whole, not my whole goal, but it was my main goal. So now I'm taking it up to the bigger batch to make an actual soap. And I did end up throwing those chunks in, the little demos. I probably should have saved them, but I never want to waste anything, so I tossed it in there. I'm kind of balancing out. Yeah, I did add a touch of blue in that green. I mean, in the aqua one, the center one, which is the one that has the Glow Blue pigment. And I guess I cut myself off there by telling you about my affiliate link. But if you go on the Mad Micas website when you purchase these, or if you purchase these, or if you've purchased them in the past, you may not have read through. Go through and carefully read their instructions, their directions. They're great. And they are the ones that give you the advice to not put mica in. Or if you do, put very, very little, because it will block the light from charging. But they also give you instructions on how much to charge and what, how many minutes, depending on what kind of light you're using. I thought that was really, really cool. And the parameters for how much to use. And they say between a half to a full teaspoon per pound. And I used a little bit, very little bit less than the maximum. Like, it's basically, you could consider it the maximum. Because I really wanted to see if I could get the effect. And later I may do some with less, just to see what the effect is. Because those crystals came out really well. And most of the soap is clear, with the exception of the little scraps in it. And then I did throw a little bit of clear soap in there too. Premium crystal clear. I'm trying very hard to still hoard that while we don't have it. Real quick, I know I'm interrupting myself again, but I want to tell you, watch what I'm doing here. You see me scraping the bottom and stirring as I pour. You really have to do that with the glow pigments. They are heavy, heavy, heavy. They will sink to the bottom. And the hotter you pour, of course, the faster they will sink. So keep that in mind. A swirl is perfect for that, because you want to pour at a low temperature anyway. I'm kind of pushing it here a little with the 122. But I'm going, if you see, I'm kind of going very gingerly with the ones that are a little warmer. The darker blue, the sapphire blue, I was pouring at, I think, 116. I think I showed you that. Anyway, smaller amounts work better if you are pouring above the normal swirling temperature, rather than dumping in a bunch of hot soap that's just going to kind of mix in with everything. But I also did notice, and I don't think it's the glow pigments, but I feel like that the Zenicolor colorants, or colorant gel, whatever, I don't know what they call that exactly. But I feel like that accelerates the thickening of the soap a little bit. Maybe not necessarily cooling, but It accelerates the thickness. I've noticed that in the past using it, wasn't just this time. So I was kind of nervous to wait too long with some of these. They are all below melting point. But normally for a swirl, I'd be, working with all of them like around 116, something like that. And again, I'm using soap that's from Crafter's Choice, Wholesale Supplies Plus. I'm not affiliated with them. I just love the soap. But it is, and the reason I'm even bringing that up is because it is a lower melting point than many of the soaps out there. So you have to work according to the melting point of your own soap when you're doing any kind of swirl, whether it has glow pigment in it or not. But just be aware that you'll be better off if you can pour it cooler, on the cooler side for your soap. If you tried to take some of the other bases out there, if you tried to take them down to 116, I'm pretty sure it'd be solid mess and wouldn't pour. Though at least the ones I've tried. It's one of the reasons I like Crafter's Choice. Many of you like the higher melting point. It works better for the kind of designs you do. So no judgment here, everybody, each to his own. Everybody has different needs as far as their designs go and as far as their skin goes, because we all know that that's a very subjective thing. What you might like or what might feel good on your skin isn't going to feel the same for me. So I just kind of tell you what I use and what I do. So that's my thing. I'm just alternating, and I really didn't have a plan as far as what type of swirl. I kind of call this freestyle. I'm sure there's a better name for it, because I'm not specifically going in any one spot. I do tend to try to go along the edges at times, just to make sure it's not solidifying and not going to stick to the rest of the soap, because it does. Any kind of loaf soap like this, it is going to solidify around the edges first. So you'll see sometimes in there, I'll take the hottest of the soaps and go around the edges, just to make sure those are working. I don't show it here because I'm sure you don't like to sit and wait for me to microwave soaps. I did heat these up a couple of times, very little. But you basically just see me remove a soap from the picture, a bucket of soap from the picture, and then it pops right back in. And I just edit it that way, like that. Oops, sorry, I dropped my mic. Just like I did there with the clear, I pulled it out of the picture and popped it back in. That's just because I edited the amount of time that I was microwaving it. I just cut it out. Now, I will say this. I'm only heating these for like 10 seconds, 5 seconds, very, very, very small increments, because I still want it thick and I don't want it too hot. I just want it to be melted enough to pour. And at some point in here coming along, you'll see me pulling out stuff that really isn't melted and shoving in a few scraps. And that, in this kind of swirl, that works just fine. Really, this isn't about a swirl tutorial as much as it is the glow pigments. So, keeping in mind that I did pour a little bit of clear in here, everything else should glow in the dark. And when you see the pictures at the end that were so weirdly difficult to capture, and I don't just mean the glowing portion of it, the one just like in regular daylight without glow were really difficult to capture. It was almost easier to get the ones glowing than it was just to get what they look like in person, and not glowing on film. I don't get it. I'm terrible with I'm not terrible, but I'm not great with a camera, and I'm definitely technically challenged. So I'm not sure how to fix that. I don't have any really great pics of them not glowing that really depict what they actually look like. So keep that in mind when you see the pictures. But as you see, I'm really, really scraping down here to the bottom. I did get to a point, I think on all of these now, where I actually reheated the very end little bit too. Like I pulled off any gunk that was not, and when I say gunk, I mean soap, that was gathered up on the spatulas, and put that in and melted a little off the sides, literally 5 seconds. And then I did end up reheating, or not reheating, but adding a little extra clear in there and heating that for the top, because I just didn't want the top to look like a big mess of glumpy stuff, which is, it kind of did, but it fixed it a little bit. It helped kind of smooth out that top surface. I wish I'd done it a little bit more. You do see me digging in there a little bit. I twisted and did everything they tell you not to do when you're swirling. Oh, that's not totally true. There are some very specific instructions on swirling with it, but I kind of wanted to make sure that the layers were not just a bunch of straight lines, so I made sure to dig down in there. And you see me playing with a UV light. This is a UV light that is my son's, so I cannot tell you where he got it. I can ask him, but it's, I mean, you just need a UV light. The other thing you can do if you really want to see it glow and charge it up is the sun. Sunlight is the second best. You can do it with other types of lighting. It just takes longer. The website, Mad Micas website, recommends charging for, if you're using a UV light, they recommend charging it for 3 to 4 minutes. And if you're using sunlight, they recommend, I think it was 7 to 8 minutes. And for things like this, I mean, unless you have a lot of sun outside and you're taking outside on a sunny day, finding a sunny window and putting it in the windowsill is a great way to get to that. Obviously, you're not going to charge an entire soap like that without taking it out of the mold first. I just wanted to run the UV light over the top and get kind of an idea of if you could see any of the colors, if they were swirling, if you could pull, visually pull out, oh, that one's the sapphire blue and there's the aqua. And I have to say, it really does in person. It's so much harder to see here with the camera. It didn't pick it all up. I'll stop complaining about that now. But in some of the pictures, you can see it. I really had to play with it. I think I turned the lights off completely in a second here, and you can kind of see. You can see it a little bit. You can see the green stands out quite a bit. The sapphire blue is the one that's the hardest to photograph. It does glow, and it's a darker color, so it's not quite the same brilliance. Sorry, I was about to choke there. But you do see it really well, and it glows very well in person. It's a darker. There you kind of see the darker. As the light begins to fade on it, and I'm very poorly charging these. I'm just running it over for a second. If I actually charged it for 3 to 4 minutes, it would last longer. So you see it fading pretty quickly. I was kind of impatient with this. And I did, I think at one point here, I charged it for like a minute when I was trying to capture it. I just wanted you to get a look at what it looks like when it's glowing. I wasn't really testing the longevity of it. I could do that in another video. If you're interested, let me know, because I will be doing more with Glow Pigments. And so I could combine a couple of experiments at once. I do want to test using very tiny amounts of mica. If you haven't seen my stained glass video, my first one, not the Halloween one, but the one talking about colorants, is mentioned somewhere in the title. I'm specifically looking or showing you how you can use a very small amount of mica with you want a very intense color, nice bright colors, and you can use that to get a very transparent look. Almost as transparent as using the Zenicolor or as using the stained glass liquid dyes from Wholesale Supplies Plus or any of the other liquid dyes that are supposed to be transparent. The liquid dyes will tend to bleed from one color to the next. It does tend to bleed. It may take it some time. I've had some that took a very long time to bleed and not bleed completely. And I've had some that have just mushed together and made a brown all the way through the soap. And it didn't look like there was any difference in color at all. So I don't know if that depends on the type of soap you're using or what, but there you get an idea. I love that you can see through. I'm very happy I added the clear in there to give a little bit of clarity to the soap. You know, if you've watched me, you know how much I love clarity. And if you haven't, I love clarity. I love things that are clear and see-through and sparkly and glowing and all the fun stuff. And which is why I love Melt and Pour soap. I'm just beveling these real quick. I just feel like this is one of those soaps that really calls for it. Yeah, and see, I really, this is not giving you the image of what it looks like. The colors are a little bit more distinct. It does have an overall kind of aqua feel to it, because all of those colors tend to, you know, ride around blues and greens. So, of course, you're going to get some shade of aqua or teal. But I feel like in person you can see the difference a little bit better than on the film, no matter what I did. And I did make adjustments and play around with all the color settings and stuff like that. And it really, I didn't come close to capturing it in person. But they still look cool. Believe me that they do look cooler in person. But they're very pretty. And in a moment, I will bring back out that UV light so you can see how well they glow. I will, like I said, later do some experiments with using less of the mica. It's not cheap mica. It's very dense mica. I mean, it's pigment. Sorry, not mica. I keep calling it mica. It's a pigment, not a mica. But it's very dense, and you really don't need to use as much as I used. I wanted to go for super intense and see how I, you know, kind of push the boundaries. I like doing that. And then I may back off and try some other things. I have used it with less in the past, but I just don't have anything to show you as an example. So there you can kind of see those colors coming through. Where it looks kind of, well, the darkest parts are where it's clear and the light's just going right through. But the areas that look a little gray or gray blue, that is the sapphire blue. I promise you it looks blue in person. But the camera just didn't like that and decided to make it gray. So yeah, I was fighting with having a clear image and getting the colors right and all that, and nothing seemed to work together. So, but they are really cool and really pretty. And I think like I said, you're seeing, this is double time. I always either do I shouldn't say always. I usually do either 1.5 times the speed or 2 times the speed. So I move slowly, I work slowly, and I know you don't want to sit there and watch me, you know, bevel for 30 minutes. I'm exaggerating. But anyway, but that it still, I'm not holding that up there for very long. And it does last a good long time. It lasts longer than what it picks up because it's obviously the camera isn't picking up the glow as easily as other things. When I'm standing there in the dark, I mean, we totally turned off all the lights there. Wow, could you see it? You could see it for a lot longer than the camera could. And you'd watch it fade on the camera. And I'm like, I still see it glowing, but the camera didn't. So anyway, they were fun. They were really cool to make. And here's my little bonus. I wanted you to see, and I didn't, sadly, film myself removing the scraps from the bucket because some of you have said you've had problems with that. When I was cleaning the buckets and I pulled out, because I'm not throwing away that good glow-in-the-dark pigment, I pulled the little skins that kind of form on the inside of the buckets. I was pulling them out, and I was like, oh, I need to make a soap with these right now. So that's what gave me the inspiration. I'm using for this one, I don't think I wrote it up there, but I'm using more of the aloe vera base, which isn't why I added the drop of blue liquid, and it's going to go for my base. It's not going to have glow in the dark in that. It's just 1 drop of the stained glass liquid blue from Wholesale Supplies Plus in about, I don't know, 10, 12 ounces. I don't remember what I used of combination of basic clear and the aloe and olive, not detergent free. What's premium aloe and olive. And here's the scraps I pulled from the bucket, and some of them I try to pull it apart. So it ended up being, I didn't mean for it to, but it ended up being 2 that look very green and 2 that look very blue. In both of those, you can see some variances, and you'll see when they glow. But if I did it again, I think I'd rip up the pieces, the larger pieces, a little smaller and stir it a little bit more, stir it around before I put it in. But I was just wanting to see what it would do and having fun with it. So I did that. I probably poured it a little on the hot side. It didn't really melt all those, but I was nervous about it. It was a little goopy as I was mixing, and I thought, oh no, they're starting to melt. But I mean, they're still, you'll see when it definitely shows up in the dark when it's glowing. In real time, it shows up too, but it's harder to see. It's not cloudy, but it's I don't know, just not as stark of a difference. Now, because I'm using such small bits, you're not going to really see the different colors in the daylight, in just looking at them, because it's so thin. It's not enough color to show up, but it does show up in the glow. So when it's in the dark, you do see the differences in the colors. The whole piece, mostly, I'm making crystals out of these if I didn't say that already. The whole piece, as you'll see here, looks kind of like the bars did. It's got an overall aqua look to it, but it's more, because I used that clear base with the blue, it just stays that, that's what shows for the most part. Every once in a while, you'll see a little hint of green pop in there or whatever, but the Zenicolor is such slight amounts in there at this point. It's really tough to see that. So you're mostly just looking at aqua, which I don't mind at all because it's really pretty. I did put, I don't know if I mentioned, I did put a little bit of bio glitter or sparkling mica actually in the top of that one, because I sometimes can't stand to not put a little bit in. And I just wanted a little, since I was making a crystal or gemstone, I wanted a little something special in it. And I was really glad I did. I noticed when I was, after I cut those and I was looking at them and taking my pictures, etc., the glitter really did add a lot to the overall look of it. I did not add a lot because I didn't want to lose the clarity of the soap overall, but I added just enough to where it's got a little sparkle. And it kind of, because I just put it in dry and I just dipped my little stick down in there and swirled it just a little, it stayed that way. It's kind of little swirls of it. It's really pretty. Cutting these just free form. This is kind of my basic cut, but I went a little freer with it in places. Some of that is I was battling that mold can sometimes bow, as some of them will tend to do. I do have a little box I sometimes use. It's a combination of 2 boxes and a couple of books and things that I will do to keep it from bowing out on the sides, and I did not do that. So you see me shaving a couple of times here because one side bowed out a lot more than the others, it seemed. So that's why the cut is a little bit different than my normal, but this is basically what I do. Cut the corners off, give it as many facets as possible. And I don't know. I guess I did show you. I started off using the veggie peeler that I like to use for beveling on these. And every time I try to do that on the crystals, I'm sorry, and I put it down and go back to my little tiny knife. It just doesn't work as well on that. I don't know why. But I mean, it's the same amount of kind of soap it's removing. It's the same basic idea. It's just smaller lines. And I guess I just have more control with it over that with the little bitty knife. And I promise I won't cut myself. So you just have to know your limits and what you can do before you start picking up and wielding any kind of a knife with soap. I mean, that's a general thing. I mentioned it in my last video because I was doing a lot of trimming with a knife. And there are other ways around it, so you don't have to do what I do. You can do what I do as I say, not as I do, unless you have experience with it. And here we slowly start turning off all the lights, and I'm kind of showing you as we go the different effects. Please ignore all the little pumpkins and ghosts and bats. I do many videos in the same day sometimes, and you'll find overlap. Oh, man. Yeah, it's so grainy. I'm sorry. But it's what we could capture. So it at least shows that it glows. It's so much better in person. I think some of the, especially the crystals, I think the photos capture it a little bit better than this, and you'll get a better idea of what they look like. And this is what they look like up close without the glow. I mean, they have the glow in there, obviously. It's just not charged. And it's in daylight. So this is what they look like when you purchase or make them yourself. And that's kind of the normal average look until you charge them and turn off the lights, which I think you can see a little bit of that glitter in there. There are a few bubbles made their way in there. And really almost any time you use those little kind of scraps that are pulled out of the bucket, you're going to usually have a little bit of that. I had a little more than usual this time because I didn't follow my normal pattern of doing things. I didn't spritz them with alcohol first before I put them in. So that added to the bubbles. But as I've said before, in crystals, I don't mind because you do get bubble looks and inclusions and a variety of different things in crystals. So they don't have to be perfect because crystals aren't. They have stuff in them. And that's why I feel like those scraps make such great crystals, because they're so random and thread-like sometimes. They really look like crystal inclusions. I think those came out really pretty. It's brighter in these. Like you can see through them a little better. But the light, it's I don't know, it's just preventing you from seeing all the way through. Oh, yeah, here we go. See, I couldn't capture that. These are just the bars on their own without the glow light lit up, and it's so hard to capture. So these, I mean, you can see it's very bright there. I also took a picture as it started to fade because that shows the true colors, I feel like, or at least a little bit more of the true colors. And the swirls came out really neat, I think. I'm hoping, I'm just going to let you watch the rest of these and chat with you a minute to say that thank you. Thank you for coming. I really hope you learned something or found something interesting. If you have any questions, if you have any other kind of experiment type things you'd like to see, I will do my best. There's no guarantees, but I will always give it a try or at least a consideration. And if you would kindly consider leaving a like, subscribing if you're not already subscribed. I do a lot of experimenting, but I also do a lot of beginner videos and more advanced designs. And I thank you so much for stopping by. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.